Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Crypto Harlem live stream. It's September 30th, 2023. I'm Gemini Matt. I'm your host. This is Crypto Harlem. We talk about all kinds of good things focused on anti-surveillance, hacktivism, Afrofuturism, and how we all could work together, no matter where you are on this planet, to just help everyone get free. You know what I'm saying? We are going to be looking at a really cool presentation from DEFCON that Micah F Flee made, as we've been continuing this like Be the Hacktivist series. What is a hacktivist? A hacktivist is a digital activist. A lot of times the term is like used to describe like negative behavior, but you know, you could do things legally, you could do things positively and make the world a better place and be a hacktivist. So we're going to look into that. So DEFCON is a big hacker conference, and it's like 30,000 plus hackers or whatever that descend upon Las Vegas, Nevada, in August of every year. And this past August, when I was there, I ran into my buddy Micah F Lee, who's a supporter of Crypto Harlem. Appreciate you, friend and ally. And Micah gave a talk on who he is, what he's done, and his new book, Hacks, Leaks, and Revelations. And so, yeah, it's a dope book. And we're going to be going through that book chapter by chapter to like level you up and teach you some awesome skills. Because everyone wants to be the hacker that breaks in and grabs the data or whatever, you know. But a big part of it is it's not that hard to have these data leaks. Data leaks happen all the time now. Then, you know, secrets are unveiled all the time now, almost too much, where it's like huge amounts of data. And it takes a certain kind of knowledge to actually parse and go through that data. So maybe you're a researcher, maybe you're a journalist, maybe you're call yourself a hacker or a hacktivist. You need to know how to go through that data. You need to know through how to find those truths, how to shine that flashlight into the darkness. And that's what the book does. So we're going to be going through each chapter of the book and teaching you and walking through the steps from a non-technical average person background, you know what I'm saying? And then we're also, but I thought to kick it off, let's have this video of the presentation, and we'll also do an interview with Micah one of these days where he'll be here and you could ask him your questions. All right. So without further ado, let me just cue up this video, and we might end a little early to do questions and answer or whatever. We'll see. But let's put this on right now. Okay. Okay. Let's get that going. The hacks and the leaks. Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hi, welcome to the penultimate session of the DEFCON 31 Misinformation Village. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome Micah Lee, who's going to talk to us about pandemic, profiteers, COVID-19 disinformation. Take it away.
All right, let's put our hands together, everybody. Feel like you're there.
Hello. So my name is Micah Lee. I am an investigative journalist, and I'm also the director of information security at The Intercept. In late 2012, while I was working at EFF as a technologist, I got an anonymous encrypted email. It's not supposed to have my face here.
Fact, true story here.
I got an anonymous encrypted email asking me if I could teach some journalists how to use PGP encryption. And so I did, and it was, a few months later, after I was working with, these journalists doing encryption and talking to this anonymous person for a while, that I realized that it was Edward Snowden, and that he was in the middle of leaking the NSA documents. And so I've been doing investigative journalism, and specifically based on hacked and leaked data sets ever since then. I spent years working on the Snowden archive, but then I have also worked on many other data sets since then. I've also written a book now about it that I'm going to talk about briefly. And also this talk has a lot of slides, so I'm going to move through them quickly, and you can ask questions at the end. So this talk is basically a talk version of chapter 13 of my book.
Chapter 6 is downloadable on the internet, so I'll put that in the chat.
But briefly, this is what the rest of the book is about. So I started with talking about things like digital security, source protection, ethics, document redaction, and also where you can download public data sets. And you also download public data sets and work through them through all the exercises throughout the book. I then move on to a deep dive in using the command line interface and a lot of useful programs to use, and then also how to make data sets searchable, how to work with email dumps in a variety of different formats. And this is also all with zero experience required. You just pick up the book, and as long as you have an internet connection and a computer, you can follow along. I go into Python
when we go through the
and
book.
spend a lot of time on working with structured data with a special focus on CSV files and JSON files and SQL databases. And you'll see in this talk there's a lot of CSV and JSON. And then finally, I have a few case studies, including the one that you're about to learn about. And also, I'm releasing the book under a Creative Commons license in order to remove any sort of barriers to access, because everyone should have this information and this knowledge. And the book is, there's an early print of it at the No Search Press table, except it was just, the early print is already sold out. But you can pre-order it if you get it from No Search. It comes out in November. If you get it from Amazon or anywhere else, it comes out in January. And yeah, there will, once it's released, there will be a PDF version on the website. Okay, so in September 2021, I was contacted by an anonymous source, and they just told me very little. They just said that they were dropping some docs on Cadence Health, the horse-based peddlers, and that they were hilariously easy to hack. And at that time, I had no idea what Cadence Health was or who anyone else involved in this story was. I just had these two files that were compressed and together about 100 megabytes. And a few weeks later, I published my story. I had found out that an anti-vax group called America's Frontline Doctors was raking in millions of dollars, convincing people that vaccines are harmful, and it was selling them fake COVID medicine instead. My reporting ultimately led to a congressional investigation into America's Frontline Doctors and the telemedicine companies that worked with them. I'm going to show a quick video. This is Dr. Simone Gold, who's the founder of America's Frontline Doctors, and here's what she had to say about the reporting.
About a month ago, there was an article printed in a newspaper I had never heard of called The Intercept.
That's really
I discovered that The Intercept is a rag far left of the New York Times. They print an article alleging that the telemedicine company to which America's Frontline Doctors referred people, a third-party telemedicine company, had had patient data breaches, that it had been hacked. This got the telemedicine company, of course, very nervous. They thought they had good firewalls up. They spent about $200,000 to prove that there was no actual hack. It was all made up. It was all a lie. But it was the basis for Congressman Clyburn's investigation into me. And I thought to myself, that sounds very familiar. A fake story in a rag paper. So get ready for part 2. Now, what does America's Frontline Doctors do? We are really a civil rights organization. We are the real ACLU.
Okay, so let me back up and start from the beginning and explain what America's Frontline Doctors is. This group started with a press conference, or not a press conference, with a conference call between members of Trump's 2020 re-election campaign and the conservative activist group called CMP Action. So what they wanted to do was try to find some extremely pro-Trump doctors that would go on TV and promote Trump's policies. And specifically, they wanted to find doctors that would go and say, like, yes, it's good to reopen the economy, we shouldn't have COVID lockdowns, and we shouldn't do things like wear masks. And so Simone Gold was the extremely pro-Trump doctor that they were looking for. When America's Frontline Doctors started, it started with this press conference in front of the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C., where Simone Gold and several other doctors, all wearing white lab coats, were
really
basically telling a lot of lies about COVID-19. They claimed that a cocktail of hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and zinc were a cure for COVID, and it's not. And that Big Pharma is suppressing it. The press conference was live streamed on Breitbart. It got millions and millions of views. Trump shared the video before the video was quickly taken down for violating Twitter's misinformation policy. And so Simone Gold started America's Frontline Doctors by creating a nonprofit called the Free Speech Foundation. And according to IRS documents, it was started with a $1 million budget and fiscal sponsorship from the Tea Party Patriots. So that's where it comes from. And then, also one of the doctors that's an America's Frontline Doctor is Stella Emanuel. She's famous for claiming things like the uterine disorder endometriosis is caused by women dreaming of sex with demons and witches, or that alien DNA is currently being used in medicine.
Wow. That's wild.
And so briefly, here's a clip of Trump talking about America's Frontline Doctors at this press conference, and also about Stella Emanuel specifically.
Last week you said last week, well, real quick. Last week you said
thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
President Donald Trump abruptly ended his coronavirus briefing at the White House on Tuesday after once again sharing his support for the unproven drug hydroxychloroquine.
Many doctors think it's extremely good.
And defending his decision to retweet a viral video that was removed from Twitter because it violated the social media site's policy on coronavirus misinformation.
There was a group of doctors yesterday, a large group, that were put on the internet, and for some reason the internet wanted to take them down. I don't know why. I think they're very respected doctors.
Trump also said he was very impressed with one of the doctors.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not, but I can tell you this. She was on air along with many other doctors. They were big fans of hydroxychloroquine, and I thought she was very impressive in the sense that from where she came, I don't know which country she comes from, but she said that she's had tremendous success with hundreds of different patients, and I thought her voice was an important voice, but I know nothing about her.
So Simone Gold is also not just a quack doctor, but a January 6th insurrectionist. She stormed the Capitol, trying to keep Trump in power after he lost the election. And she served 2 months in prison and was fined $9,500. And also John Strand, who is America's Frontline Doctors creative director, also stormed the Capitol with Simone Gold. They both got charged together with the same things, but Simone Gold did a plea deal where she pled guilty to trespassing and got off on everything else. And John Strand pled not guilty and went to trial and was found guilty of all counts and was sentenced to 32 months in prison and a $10,000 fine.
Woo!
And he's serving it right now in Miami.
Underwear model in prison.
Okay, so this is basically about all of the stuff that America's Frontline Doctors did, once they started selling snake oil during the pandemic. So how did this whole massive scam work? So first, America's Frontline Doctors has a very large following in a lot of different social media platforms, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, and they use and also they have a mailing list with lots of subscribers. And they use this to constantly lie about vaccine safety, convincing supporters that the COVID vaccine is deadly and that only they have the cure. And I took these screenshots several months ago, and the one from Twitter says that she has 423,000 followers, but I just looked at her X account now, and it has 748,000. So this is just getting more popular over time.
Damn.
I also discovered that America's Frontline Doctors places ads like this in evangelical Christian newsletters. And so this one says, have you been exposed to COVID by someone who was recently vaxxed? Contact America's Frontline Doctor. doctors for a phone consultation with an MD. They can prescribe to you the COVID-19 medication you need to fight this virus. So when they're advertising in private like this, they get a lot bolder with their lies, in this case, claiming that the vaccine causes COVID. So once somebody decides that they don't trust vaccines and they really need hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, here's how the whole scam worked. First, they would go to the American Frontline Doctors website and click the Get Medication button. This will lead them to a page explaining that they need to have a telehealth consultation that costs $90, so they click Contact the Physician. This will bring them to a whole different website called speakwithanmd.com, and then they would click the button to book a consultation, which would bring them to another website called Cadence Health.
Damn.
And in this one, they would create an account and put in a lot of their personal information, and then they would fill out a form to book a COVID-19 consultation. And the form for the consultation, the options on it changed over time. While I was reporting on this, I kept trying to book one and seeing it, but it always asks what drugs do you want? And it's a focus of hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. And then finally, the last out is you just put in your credit card number, you get charged $90, and then a few days later, you receive a phone call from someone who will write you a prescription. And then they send that prescription to a pharmacy that is sketching out to fulfill it.
Okay.
So an ABC News reporter documented this whole process. So here's another video with some sound.
The clamor to get ivermectin is so great that typical supplies are hard to find. And people have been clearing shelves at animal feed stores, buying versions of the drug meant for livestock.
Driving a steep increase in demand while also sending people to the hospital.
The FDA had to publish this warning, telling Americans that you are not a horse or a cow, and that these animal-grade medications could be toxic. I'm interested in ivermectin.
Okay.
Which brings us to how easy it was to get the drug on the internet. After filling out an online application, I paid a $90 fee for the physician consultation. The very next day, a caller rang from Alabama.
Are you allergic to any medication?
I'm not allergic to any medication, no.
I don't have any medical knowledge as far as the medicine or even about COVID.
A couple days later, someone called from a pharmacy in New York State, offering me 28 pills and next-day delivery for $240.
I will be sending a payment link on your cell phone number.
Okay.
Just click on that link and you can put in your card information and press pay.
I never once talked with a physician or nurse practitioner. The drugs arrived by FedEx in 2 days.
Damn.
So Times reporting on which was also cited in the congressional investigation into this group, was very interesting. The Times journalist Vera Bergengroin read thousands of messages from America's Frontline Doctors patients telegram group, and she found that many people reported getting charged the $90 for consultations, but then never actually got a call, and they just lost their money. And then other people got the call and were charged up to $700 for ivermectin. And also quite obviously, they don't accept insurance. So I used historical WHOIS data and corporate records to figure out how all of these companies involved were connected.
Who is this
has changed a whole lot
website registration data?
This is how it worked at the time. America's Frontline Doctors directed patients to speakwithanmd.com to schedule their phone consultations. Then Speak with an MD used Cadence Health as their technology partner to actually collect the patient data and to schedule appointments. And then America's Frontline Doctors has this network of physicians, and the physicians then call the patients and fill and write prescriptions, and then they send the prescriptions to RAV2 Pharmacy. So Cadence Health was hacked, and that has all of the patient data. RAV2 Pharmacy was hacked, and that has all of the prescription data. So that's America's Frontline Doctors. And so now let's take a look at the data, starting with a special.card.txt. So this is a compressed file, 33 megabytes. After extracting it took up 493 megabytes of space, and it was just 281,000 small files all in the same folder, and the file names were all numbers. and the files look kind of like this. I opened some of them. This is what they look like. They're all JSON files. This example is for one of them from a patient named Jeremy Parker from Sparks, Nevada. And I didn't redact his name, but I redacted other stuff, and I'll tell you why later on. In this file, the user ID is 221735, and that was the file. So basically, it was 281,000 different patient records like this. And in this case, it includes consultation notes of the date of the consultation and the notes. And these notes say, patient has positive exposure, no symptoms, wants hydroxychloroquine and zinc. So the other 281,000 patient records had similar information. My source told me that they created an account on the Cadence Health website, and then they watched what HTTP requests their browser were making, I think using a tool like Perfsway. And they noticed that one of the requests was returning their own patient record with the information they filled out, and it had their user ID in the URL. So they tried a different user ID and it returned a different patient record. And so they just wrote a script to try 281,000 other URLs, and that's what this data is.
That's the danger of serialized.
And then I realized that having all of this patient data, knowing that they charge $90 per consultation and having the consultation notes, I could calculate how much money they were actually bringing in with this. So let's look at the other file. Force around to find out .tar.cst. So this one was 77 megabytes, and when I extracted it, it's 691 megabytes of space. And this was just mostly a bunch of JSON files, CSV files, and RAV2 screenshot.png. And so the JSON files are from Cadence Health, the CSV files are from RAV2. And so the most interesting files here are Cadence all patients all.json, which is a 405 megabyte JSON file. And then there's RAV2 rxdata.csv, 150 megabyte spreadsheet. So this is the screenshot file that I found. So this is a screenshot of RAV2's super admin interface. And my source told me that when they were looking into RAV2, they found a secret URL to get to this interface. And they didn't tell me how they found that, but they said that as long as you were logged into a RAV2 account, any account that anyone could create, then you could have access to this. So there was basically no access control. So you go to RAV2, you make an account, you go to this URL, and then the columns on the left, you click on those, and then on the right, all the data populates. So it says RX data on the left, and so on the right is that basically all of the data about the descriptions. And my source said that they basically scraped all of the data from this interface and saved it in CSVs. So this is what RAV2 rxdata.csv looks like. So this was scraped from the RAV2 super admin interface. This is a huge file. It has 340,000 rows of data, and each row represents one prescription that RAV2 filled. And as you can see, many of the prescriptions are for hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, zinc, and ivermectin. Okay, and so I'm going to just briefly go over what the other data was. This is Cadence Health, all patients, all.json. This is just a snippet from it because it's an enormous JSON file. And this is basically a giant JSON array with 281,000 patient records. It has a lot of overlap of the data in the individual patient records, except a little bit of it's different. This doesn't include consultation notes, but it does include other stuff like password hashes. And it also includes the created at, I believe, which is the timestamp that the account was created, which is what I found useful. And so here's another one, Cadence Health Partners.json. This lists the 17 partner companies that work with Cadence Health. And so this one that's being shown is the one for America's Frontline Doctors. It has an ID of 3. This includes payment processor secrets. And then the pricing. So consultation is $90, the follow-up is $59.99. And then if you go back to this patient record, partner, comma, 3, comma, it took me a bit to realize that this is just a comma-separated list of partner IDs with nothing at the beginning and nothing at the end. I don't know why they didn't make it a list, but this means that this patient was referred by America's frontline doctors. So there was a lot of data here, and I needed to transform it so that I can make more sense of it.
I like how they say
I had 281,000 patients, information about them in individual JSON files and also in one huge file. But JSON like this is kind of hard to work with, and so what I wanted is to convert this into just a single spreadsheet of America's frontline doctors' patients, and also filter out any patients that were other patients that weren't America's frontline doctors' patients. So here's the script that I used to convert the enormous JSON file and also the 281,000 tiny JSON files into a single spreadsheet. You can find the script in my book's Git repo on GitHub. I'm including code for various scripts in these slides. I'm not going to spend very much time on it, but I just want to show how very simple the scripts are and how anybody here that spends a little bit of time learning a little Python could, or any programming language, could write similar scripts. So this script basically loads cadence all patients all.json, and then it extracts all of the created at timestamps from it, and then it creates a patient rows list. And then it loops through every file in the HIPAA special folder. So it loops through all of those individual patient records. It loads the record. It checks to see if this patient is an American frontline doctor's patient. It counts how many consultations they have, and if they have more than 0 consultations, which means that a lot of them have 0 consultations, which I assume meant they created an account but didn't go through with paying the $90. So if anyone who actually paid the $90, it adds them to this list. And then it just starts a new spreadsheet and saves all the data to the spreadsheet. And so then I ended up with this spreadsheet, which has 72,000 rows of data. And this is so much easier to work with. And so now I just actually have, like, here is all of the America's frontline doctors' patients. And so the reason why I have 72,000 is because these were the ones that both were referred by America's frontline doctors and had at least one consultation. And then based on the created at timestamp, I sorted it by this, and I saw that this basically covers 2 months of data. So I just have 2 months of patient data. There were 72,000 patients. So since I knew that they charged $90 for consultations, I calculated that they charged patients an estimated $6.7 million just for consultations, not including the actual prescription drugs, during a 2-month period. And so on average, that's taking in $100,000 a day. So I know that they started selling hydroxychloroquine like this in January 2021, but I don't have any data between January and July 2021. But if they were making the same amount of revenue during that time, they would have brought in an additional $18 billion.
Ooh,
but I don't have the data, so I don't know the actual number. So that was the first look at the patient data. Then I wanted to look at the that list of partners. Here's a script that converts the JSON file with 17 partners just into a spreadsheet that's easier to read. And this code is also on GitHub. And so basically this just loads cadence all partners.json, and it basically loops through all the partners and it grabs key information that I care about, and it also counts how many patients each partner has, and then saves this spreadsheet. So here's the spreadsheet that this one created. 90% of the patients in the Cadence Health database come from America's frontline doctors, so 255,000 of them. But of those, only 72,000 seem to have paid the $90. And the rest of the partners, they're all like quack doctors. So Dr. Stella Emanuel, Dr. Zelenko made the Zelenko protocol, which was basically the thing on the far right that kind of popularized hydroxychloroquine as a cure for COVID. Jerome Corsi is the owner of Encore Telemedicine, which is the parent company of Speak with an MD. He's also a former InfoWars host and was really big in promoting the Obama birtherism racist conspiracy theory. So that's Cadence patient records. And so the other part of the data set is their aptitude prescriptions. Here is a script that takes that huge spreadsheet of prescription data. And what I wanted to know was, for each drug, how many prescriptions were filled and how much money they have, which is the nice thing about that spreadsheet, is the cost of each prescription. So this basically just creates a drugs dictionary that's empty, opens the CSV, loops through all the rows, and then just like increments prescription count and total cost for each prescription based on the name of the drug. And then it just saves that into a new spreadsheet. And this is what you get. So this is sorted by total cost descending. So ivermectin, 3 milligram tablet. They filled 36,000 of those prescriptions and brought in $4.6 million from just that drug. But if you look at this, down at the bottom there's another ivermectin, and then there's like multiple hydroxychloroquines. And so I realized this data could be cleaned up some. Really what I wanted to know is just like overall how much ivermectin, overall how much hydroxychloroquine. So I basically wrote another script that just calculated this and broke it into categories. Just checks for how much ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, zinc, and vitamin C. And these are all of the categories that America's Frontline Doctors, or these are all the drugs that America's Frontline Doctors recommends to treat COVID. And then there's just another category for everything else. And this is what I did. So 87% of all the prescriptions sold by Rapid were for phase COVID medicine. And this was over a 9-month period. The dates don't quite match up. The patient records is over a 2-month period. The prescription records is over a 9-month period. But in this 9 months, patients paid $8.6 million for these drugs. And ivermectin was definitely the most lucrative. Over half of the revenue came from selling ivermectin. So I also had home addresses in the patient data. And home addresses are just addresses are location data. So I decided to visualize that to see where these people are. And so, as you can see, this includes the city and state of each patient. So here's some code where I used an API called geocode API, but there's plenty of other geocoding API services that you can use in order to basically give it the names of cities, city-states, and get GPS coordinates back. And so this just loads the patients, loops through every patient, and makes a list of cities. And now it has a list of cities and how many patients come from each city.
And once you have that, you can make a map, you can visualize it, you can make an app.
GPS coordinates. There's an error handling code because there's thousands of cities and sometimes they get requests to fill. And then once it succeeds, it stores the GPS coordinates of each city. And then at the end, it just writes a CSV that looks like this, where it says how many people in each city, and then the city's latitude and longitude. And look at that, Las Vegas is number 2. We're in the top 3 right now. And so this is so these are just people who paid the $90 for a telehealth consultation by city. So I visualized it on a map, and this map actually embedded in the story on the website. You could actually like scroll around and zoom in on various places. The bigger the dot, the more people. In order to not dox anybody, I just cut out any cities with less than 10 patients in them. So there will be like a ton more dots, and it would just be like one dot. And you might be able to tell, oh, I know the anti-vax guy in my town or something. And any of these dots are like the center of the city. It's not actually a house or anything. So finally, I also have birth dates as part of the patient records. So I decided to figure out what old people were. Age is strongly correlated with COVID-19 risk. This is CDC data from September 2021 when I was doing the story that shows the risk of hospitalization or death by age groups relative to 18 to 29-year-olds, which is the most common age of getting COVID. And so at the time, and they kept updating this data too. So this is what the data was when I published the story. At the time, if you're like 50 to 64 years old, you're 4 times more likely to get hospitalized and 30 times more likely to die.
Yeah.
And if you're 65 to 74, you're like 90 times more likely to die, and it just gets steeper from there. CDC just stopped updating this a few months ago, and the page actually doesn't even load anymore, but you can still find the historical data on archive.org. So this is just a script that loops through all the patients and places them in age groups. And I added a less than 0 and more than 100 age group because some people lied about their birthday, but most people did not. It basically just loops through each patient. It calculates their age, and based on their age, it increments the correct age group, and when the loop is done, the age group dictionary has all the data and writes this to its CSV. And so here's the results from that combined with the CDC data, and it's pretty terrifying. Most of the patients were in the 50 to 64 range, 31,000 people, and that's like the 25 times more likely to die, but then another 11,000 people were 65 times more likely to die. 702 were injured than 0. So 44% of America's frontline doctors' patients were 50 to 64, making them 25 times more likely to die than like 18 to 29-year-olds. And another 16% were between 65 and 74, making them 65 times more likely to die. So in just 2 months, America's frontline doctors convinced nearly 45,000 people older than 50 to reject science, to not get vaccinated, and to instead buy overpriced, ineffective drugs on the internet during the pandemic. So that brings me back to this slide for Jeremy Parker from Sparks, Nevada. Jeremy Parker died on February 3rd, 2022, and he left behind his disabled wife and 3 kids, who were 8 years old, 14 years old, and 17 years old. And according to a lawsuit filed by his family against America's frontline doctors, an autopsy concluded that he died from taking hydroxychloroquine, which is deadly if you have certain heart conditions. And they're basically saying that he was not examined. They didn't know he had heart conditions. I don't think he knew he had heart conditions, but he took it and he died. And the lawsuit blames his death on the negligence of Dr. Culver, who was the America's Frontline Doctors doctor, and by falsehood spread by America's Frontline Doctors. So here's the consultation notes from when he actually had this consultation. Oh, and I just yesterday was on a phone with a lawyer to make sure it's okay to publish this. I'm planning on writing an article about this soon.
Go get a lawyer before you present these key lessons here.
So the lawsuit says that on or about August 26, 2021, Mr. Parker had a telemedicine visit, but it was actually August 27 at 4:02 and 50 seconds. And it also says that he spoke with Dr. Culver. He was prescribed hydroxychloroquine. His prescription was filled by GAV2. And the lawsuit says that Dr. Culver never gave Parker a physical examination. And these patient notes corroborate that. And I just learned about this last week while I was working on these slides. So, I had all this data, but as you know, you can't trust everything on the internet, and that includes fact data sets that anonymous people send you. So, I show you how I analyzed it all, but I also want to show you a bit how I verified that it was authentic.
And this is
in
the key part of the video, y'all.
2021, someone hacked Gab for a social network, and the Gab data set included 38,000 email addresses of Gab users. And since Gab is really popular with anti-vaxxers and election deniers, I thought that there was a good chance that there would be some overlap between Gab users and America's Frontline Doctors patients. And so I made a list of all the email addresses of both groups and compared them, and I found several matches. And so I started looking through the public Gab profiles of all of these matches to see if I could find anyone talking about America's Frontline Doctors. And so here's an example of one of the ones that I found. So this patient created their Cadence Health account on July 26, 2021. They had their consultation 4 days later on July 30th. September 4th, a little over a month later, they started posting on Gab about trying to find livestock grade ivermectin. And and they were just having a discussion about it. And then on September 7th, they said frontline doctors finally came through with hydroxychloroquine and psych delivery. So this is an example of like one of the gap users that was also an America's Frontline Doctors patient, posting about it publicly on Gab. And so this, like this and a few other examples increased my confidence that this was real by a lot. So some of the aftermath. The day before we published, I spoke with Micah F Flee, the CEO of Data on the phone. He claimed that he had no idea what the service was used for, and that that day when I called him, I also called other people involved. He was invited to an emergency Zoom meeting with America's Frontline Doctors and speaking to an MD, and he said that there were 16 different attorneys there. And he told them that he told me that he said he was ending his contract with them immediately, and then he just hung up and shut down the service. And then that day, the whole Speak with an MD service went offline and was offline for a week, took 1 week to get it back online, saving an estimated $700,000 on fake consultations that week. But then when it came back, it was actually still running the exact same software on a different domain, and I don't really know what's going on with that, if they were pirating it, and I don't know, there's more to this that I don't quite fully understand. But also the day before publishing, I talked to Alpesh Patel, the CEO of Grab2, and he didn't believe me that it was hacked at first. So I emailed him the screenshot of the super admin interface, and then he started to panic. And he demanded to know the identity of my source so he could tell the FBI. And of course, you never have to tell anyone the identity of your sources, and I also didn't know the identity of my source, which helps.
Don't know the identity
of your source. And he's like, I need to call the CTO. But it's also worth noting that by the time
never reveal the identity of the person you
published
don't know.
this story, Grab2 had already stopped working with America's Frontline Doctors, and he said that the reason was because they were just getting so many orders that there was just no way they could fulfill them all. And I confirmed that that was true by reading the America's Frontline Doctors Telegram groups where a lot of people were complaining about Grab2. So with Congress investigating America's Frontline Doctors, the group decided to lead the sequel. They stopped selling fake medicine, but Simone Gold was not done with this at all, and she launched a whole separate company that was not under investigation by Congress called Gold Care. And this one is basically a new company with monthly membership fees, and it's designed to completely replace evidence-based healthcare. Basically, it's an alternative to health insurance. And I just checked, it costs $99 a month right now. And since it's like a membership-only scam, it's a lot harder, as opposed to selling directly to the public, it's a lot harder for journalists to investigate this. You have to pay to become a member, and then you have access to everything for free. So another thing is that Simone Gold was serving her prison sentence for storming the Capitol on January 6th. Other people at America's Frontline Doctors tried to conduct a coup of their own. A lawyer named Joey Gilbert, who worked with America's Frontline Doctors, conducted an audit of how Simone Gold had been spending the group's money, and then he sued her, trying to take over the organization. So in addition to all the money that they scammed from patients, they had received at least $10 million in donations from supporters. And while more than 1 million Americans were dying from COVID during the pandemic, this is how Simone Gold was spending America's Frontline Doctors' money, according to this lawsuit. She lived rent-free in a $3.6 million mansion in Naples, Florida, purchased with the America's Frontline Doctors charity funds. She spent $12,000 a month on a bodyguard, $5,600 a month on a housekeeper. She had $50,000 a month on credit card expenses. She purchased 3 cars, including a Mercedes-Benz, and took private jet flights, including a single trip that cost $100,000. But then, just like on January 6th, this too failed too. When she got out of prison, she managed to regain control of the organization. There was apparently a lot of drama where, I don't know, people were locked out of their email, she controlled the mailing list, but other people controlled other things. But she seems to be firmly in control again. And so, unfortunately, things actually haven't really gotten better at all. When Republicans took the House in 2022, the coronavirus committee shut down, and with it, the investigation into America's frontline doctors and state presentaiton self ended without really coming to anything. Washington Post analyzed disciplinary records from all 50 states' medical boards, and they found that very few doctors who threatened patients' lives by pushing pandemic disinformation faced any consequences at all. Nearly all of them are still practicing medicine. Florida has passed a law making it illegal for medical boards to punish doctors who spread COVID misinformation. And Missouri and North Dakota and Tennessee have also passed laws protecting doctors from being disciplined for prescribing ivermectin. So on that happy note, I want to bring you back to my book, Hacks, Leaks, and Revelations. So this investigation into America's frontline doctors is kind of what inspired me to start writing this book, so that I could teach researchers and journalists and other people how to do this type of investigation that involves lots of data like this, because you kind of have to be a programmer and have to understand this stuff to even touch this at all when you just start out with two files of compressed data. And it's one of the reasons why I focus so much on writing Python code, working with CSV files, working with JSON data. We are all drowning in data. Well, not all of us, the internet is drowning in data sets. There's new huge hacks and leaks and data sets that get dumped on the internet in various places constantly, every day. And 95% of them I just don't even look at because I'm way too busy. And then the ones that I do download, I just generally don't have time to spend any time on any of them. Barely anyone knows how to do anything. So this is basically what I'm hoping to do with writing this book, is to make a lot more people that have this skill set to be able to dig through books like this, or to dig through data sets like this. I also want to plug Distributed Denial of Secrets, which is a transparency collective. I'm an advisor to them, and they're basically like a public library of leaks. You can go to their website, see what has been leaked in the last few days, and if it interests you, you can go ahead and download those leaks. A lot of their data is limited distribution, which means that it's not available to the public, and they normally do this if it has a lot of PII. So the GAB data set is not available for everyone. And also there's a really interesting Oath Keepers data set that showed how many Oath Keepers are active in law enforcement and stuff. And there's lots of data sets like this that have tons of private information, but if you want access to it, you just contact them. And as long as you're basically planning on researching it and publishing your findings, you can get access. So yeah, and you can see some information about this book at the no search table in the vendor area, but it's all sold out. But you can also go to hacksandleaks.com to see more information. So that is it. And I don't know how much time we have left, but anyone have any questions?
Whoa. Is your mind blown yet? Wow, that was wild. Hey, y'all. Thanks for joining this episode of Crypto Harlem and for watching the DEFCON 31 Hacker Conference presentation of Hacks, Leaks, and Revelations by Micah F Flee. Let's put our hands together for Micah. Yo, I feel you on that. Dancer Burrito says, not gonna lie, programming always backs me down. And you know what? What I've realized is having a good programming teacher is like having a good math teacher. Just the foundations and the fundamentals. If you have a bad teacher, it'll just ruin everything. You'll just be it's like going to the dentist. You'll be scared. Except for those who love going to the dentist out there. That's cool. That's you. That's not me, right? So, but yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through. So don't you worry. We got you. We're going to walk you through and we're going to explain how to do all this step by step for a completely non-technical person. And, I have a copy of the book and I've gone through it and it does a good job, but there's little steps here and there that software engineers like myself programmers like myself, we forget how daunting and scary it can be for regular people. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we walk through all those little steps. And this thing's going to be a whole video, so you don't have to worry about it. So now it's time for roll call real quick, because where are we without y'all? You know what I'm saying? So thanks for being here. Again, in the VIP, Hilps 20, always putting hands together for you. Respect, and thank you, Hilps, for joining and for always being, there with the engagement. You know what I'm saying? 00 Rihanna, yo, thanks for popping through. Appreciate you so much. 01 Ella, 8 Hives, Commander Ruth, and Dancing Burritos. This is always out there, I'm like that little kid at the play. When I see y'all in the back, I'm like, oh, I could do this, so thank you. Appreciate you so much. DARPANet, of course, got to have that military data on you. Drapsnat, JThinkPencer. Yo, JThinkPencer, appreciate you so much. Let's get some crowd going for JThinkPencer right now. Okay. Mark's Nick, Fofo, Streamer Social Space, and VI Mercy, you know what I'm saying? Get that VI Mercy, you know what I'm saying? None of that Emacs Mercy. We don't do that. We don't play that, okay? Okay. So, all right. So listen, appreciate everyone for rocking with us here at Crypto Harlem, and every week, 1 o'clock, only getting bigger and brighter and better. Keep an eye out for new things. And most importantly, if you don't want to wait till another 7 days to get some of this energy, hit us up on our Discord. Just go to cryptoharlem.com. It's a website. And although I recently realized that the website, which I put on Squarespace, I moved from like running it on my own server to on Squarespace. It doesn't work on Tor browser. I feel like Squarespace has like changed their Tor browser policy, and now they're messing with the site. So that's not good. So we're gonna make another. I was like, you know what? I always wanted to make a hidden service anyway. So we're gonna have a hidden service custom URL for Tor browser people out there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll cover it later. But if you're a Tor browser person out there and you realize you can't hit the site, don't worry. We see you. We're gonna actually go all the way in and have a hidden service for you. And yeah, so anyway, let's just real quick, stay in contact, scroll down here. Boop, boop, boop. But first of all, look at all the media love we be getting. Read about these stories, listen to these podcasts, check out these articles from the past 10 years, because we've been doing this for a decade, y'all. All right. Scroll down to the busy bottom. Look at all these hackers and supporters who rock with us. And click on here, this like video game controller with the 2 eyeballs, the Discord link. And join the Discord. Get in there, have some fun, hang out. The border's fine. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop this share. I'm going to end with, I don't know how we're going to end it. How about this? I'll throw it up in whoever wants to, in the chat wants to react. One, we're going to end with that Crypto Harlem video about the work that I do, walk around here. What is Crypto Harlem? That is, if you want that, push number 1. Number 2 is we'll talk about, we'll have a little comedy, after something serious, you want something comedy, we'll just have a quick joke video on getting into cybersecurity, which I always really like. And number 3, what are we going to do for number 3? I don't know. Number 3, we'll have the trailer for that, a documentary. So 1, Crypto Harlem, more Crypto Harlem all day. 2, comedy, laughs, ha ha ha. That was a little bit stressful. Let's go with that. 3, video trailer of a documentary. Actually, you've seen it before, but I really like this video trailer for Free Crime. Okay, 1, 2, or 3. Hit it in the chat. If you're in front of a keyboard, give me something. Give me some energy. And if you don't pick, I'm gonna pick for you. I'll let that 7-second delay plus ads. Let that sink in. Next week, we're going to be going into the book itself, Hacks, Leaks, and Revelations. The book, you can get it from No Starch Press. So let me just put that on the screen. But we'll actually go through chapter by chapter and walk you through all this stuff. So including getting you over that fear of programming, we'll make it nice and easy just like how the Crypto Harlem interns be doing it. Yo, Dance with Burrito says, give me that comedy, give me that number 2. We see you, we feel you, thank you, and we're gonna make sure we cue that up for you, okay? So boom, right here, actually right there, boom. NoStarch.com, hacks, leaks, revelations. You know, like just check that out. The page, the website itself looks like this. No Starchy. They make dope programming books, by the way. But this is good. Go pre-order this book. Pre-order the book or get early access copy to the book. It's not cheap, but you know what? Like level up. You get a 25% discount when you use the code pre-order. So use that code pre-order, P-R-E order. You know what I'm saying? Save yourself some dough. But this is how we do it. This is how we get better, stronger. You know, knowledge is power, level up. Okay. And with that, time to cue it up. This is for you, Dancing with the Burritos. And I'll see y'all next week. Take care of each other. And remember, encrypt, encrypt, encrypt. Peace.
Hey, do you want to make a difference fighting bad guys and making 6 figures? Well, do we have the job for you? You don't have to be Iron Man. You can work in cybersecurity. Hell yeah. The U.S. government estimates a labor shortage of about 400,000 people over the next few years in this industry. Here are the 3 simple things that you need to fill these jobs. 1, you need to have 10 years of related job experience. 2, you need to have multiple accredited certifications. And 3, most importantly, you gotta be a rock star. Does this sound like you?
No, that doesn't sound like me at all.
Awesome. Come on down and apply at entry-level cybersecurityjobs.com. We're waiting.